Hey guys, Miles here, and my baby Keo. So this week's topic is coming out. My coming out experience was, I don't know, not conventional. I didn't come out all at once. I guess the first part of it was, the girl that I was dating at the time actually helped me kind of realize that I was FTM, because when I had started dating her, I was in kind of this genderqueer space, and I hadn't fully come to terms with being female to male, so I was just like, oh, I'm just genderqueer. Whatever, it's cool. And I told her about it, and she was like, whatever, that's cool. And then she was friends with somebody who knew a trans guy, and I ended up meeting him, and that kind of helped me come to terms with being trans, and she kind of helped me through that, so I never really had to come out to her. I went through that process with her. As for my mother, when I came out to her, it didn't strike me as that big of a deal. When I came out to her, I was just kind of like, oh, I don't really identify as female anymore, and my mom didn't really get that, and I didn't understand what was so hard about it, and I didn't fully comprehend how big of a deal it was. So it wasn't like a big coming out thing for me. It wasn't like as big as when I came out as liking girls. That was definitely more emotional, but when I just came out as trans, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm like a guy, and that was it. And like my mom had issues with it, and it took a lot of arguments and fighting and stuff for her to finally accept and help me through my transition, but the actual coming out was just whatever. Coming out to friends at school was, I just kind of said it, and word got around. I didn't really have to come out to a lot of people because it was in high school. News travels fast, you know. There wasn't a lot of coming out. Basically, I told like a couple people, and word spread. Okay. Keo wants love. Anyway, so there wasn't much coming out there. And same with teachers, word got around. So my coming out stories aren't really that interesting. It just kind of happened. There wasn't big emotional blah blah blah. It was just whatever. Now okay. Now I'll tell people that like I'm trans. I don't hide it at all. Because I want people to know that, you know, that we're normal people and that we're in your lives, and if nobody knows that I'm trans, then how can they know about this issue and educate themselves and be accepting of the issue? So I'm not stealth in any way. I kind of am at work, but that's just because it never comes up. It's not like I go around trumpeting that, like, I'm trans, but if it comes up, then I let people know. So I frequently come out, in a sense, to people who think I was born male. I come out to them, like, a lot, and it's still just kind of that whatever deal. I'm just like, oh, by the way, I wasn't born male, and they were like, huh. And for the most part, people have been really, really accepting. I haven't run into any overwhelmingly negative reactions since high school. high school was a different story. But anyway, um, advice for coming out, I don't really, I don't know, because I didn't have a hard time. I would just say that, stay calm. It'll take time for people to wrap their mind around what's going on, and you just kind of have to be patient and can't force them into understanding right away, but try to explain how you feel as best you can. Try to explain it to them in a way that they can relate, or attempt to relate anyway. So like, oh, imagine if you woke up and you were in the wrong body, like, how would you feel? And like, I felt this way my entire life, and I'm just now, coming to terms with it and doing something about it. But there are multiple ways to come out. Like I said, trying to make them understand as best you can, because there's no way they can actually understand what's going on in your mind. But um, but you can try to make it as easy for them as possible, and not trying to force their acceptance and understanding earlier than they can give it. I know at a point it does get like ridiculous and they're just being stubborn, but and at that time you can kind of say, hey, this isn't cool. But right off the bat, kind of give them some time, because I understand how hard it is. Like, I have a friend who is currently in a transition space, and it's really hard for me to go from using female pronouns to male pronouns, and I feel really bad about it, but I've seen this person as a girl for the entire time I've known them, and switching that over is difficult, and I understand why people don't get it right off the bat. So I understand from that point of view, and just keep that in mind. But after a while, it will come to them, and if it doesn't, then they're just being stubborn and not accepting. And I'm kind of going off track here. Anyway, coming out. um, yeah, I don't have. I'm sorry, my stories weren't very interesting. But you got to see my kitty, and I guess I'll see you guys next week. Sorry I didn't have more for you. Later.